Oh, howdy all. This is a little bit of a test, something a little bit different, where I'm going to write on stream guides that I'm going to be putting out over the next week or so for the getting yourself 36 or even 40 challenges in the Ritual League. So what I'll be doing is going through each of the 40 challenges for the Ritual League, assessing it a difficulty, discussing any little notes that come up about it, and then after that, after I've prepared these notes, which I'll then put on my blog, sirgog.com, then you will be able to, either you'll be able to use that in the interim, or alternately, you'll be able to wait for the videos to be finished. One thing I will just ask, I can see a couple of people in chat at the moment. Is anyone able to just type and make sure that I can see chat at the moment, that I'm set up properly? And while you're doing that, I'm just going to start with the very first of the challenges, which is adequate preparation. This is a pretty trivial training task, so this can be done in Act 1, and I'll explain what I'm putting in each of the columns in a sec. So this is definitely in the 12, and this is training. Lesson in equipment. Hey, thanks Thomas. So, alrighty, so it's good to see that the chat is working. There'll be a little bit of a delay on it. I put that on because the last time I streamed to YouTube, I was having quite an amount of latency on the chat. So for that reason, there'll be, I was getting quite a bit of tech issues, and so I put a little bit more latency on it, which generally makes it more stable, but means that I'll be slower to interact in chat. Okay, so that's adequate preparation, really simple. Quicksilver Flask can be sourced from Hailrake in Act 1, one of the optional side quests. And I would say that most veteran players will aim to have this done by about the time that they get to level 10, which will generally be about the time that they're taking on Maven. You don't need to get it done that fast, but it's definitely worth your while doing this as soon as practical. Ritual Encounters 1 is going to be a pure tutorial. So Ritual Act 1. This can be done in Act 1 as well, although you may decide to put it off a little bit. Deferring a favour is something that is very trivial to do. You can do it deliberately at any point. You may not want to do it during Act 1, but you'll get this just by normal play. I'm going to put this as Act 1 anyway. It may actually be the first challenge that you do, and it is just basically a training in ritual mechanics. So basically all you need to do here is participate in a ritual encounter in a map, buy a reward, and also defer a reward that you can't afford, or just defer one for the sake of deferring it. Complete these quests requires you to reach Act 10. And so this is Act 10, and the reason for that is that you need to do the map to Soartha, which is there. So you need to get as far in the storyline as Act 10. I don't think it's a good idea for GGG to put this as the third challenge because it just confuses people. When, for instance, you can't possibly beat this one without defeat these Act Bosses 1. Of these, Great White Beast is in Act 2. It's worth doing for the Magic Quicksilver Flask. Indomitable Spirit is the Act 4 skill point quest for freeing Deshret. Vestal's Epic is a totally useless quest in Act 6. Map to Soartha is a totally useless one in Act 10. Wings of Vastri is an Act 8 one that gives you a special jewel as a reward. So there's a couple of these that you wouldn't normally do, and that's why I don't have them done. But of course, anyone that feels like being a bit of a completionist will get these through natural gameplay anyway. Act Bosses 1 is very straightforward. Just requires you get to Act 5. Definitely going to be in the first 12, and there's not really much to say here, other than that if people would like discussions of the mechanics of these bosses, I've only done discussions of the mechanics of endgame bosses so far. But if people would find it useful to have a discussion of, say, the mechanics of Dominus or Malachi or Kitava in Act 5, then definitely say so, either in chat now or in the comments down below the video. And I'll put them out if there's enough interest in them. It's just that generally my audience tend to be people that are already pretty comfortable getting 24 challenges. So for that reason, I haven't ever put out those sort of more beginner-oriented guides in the past. But, as I say, if there's demand, they will get done. Encounters 1 is a training thing into the into various side content that you can encounter during the game. Complete a Vile side area can be done very early in the game, but becomes much easier to do when you get to maps. So when you get to maps, if you've got a Sacrifice at Dawn fragment or something like that, you can stick that into your map device and you will open up a Vile side area. In my experience though, if you're actually looking for these things, you'll probably get one by Act 5. Complete a Possessed monster is something that will probably happen through dumb luck during the campaign. If it doesn't though, one of the very first Maven nodes that you will take on basically any character is Seance, which from memory is in Lex Proxima. So that's something that you will get very soon once you get into Endgame. Hey, thanks, Marahorn. Is it Marajahorn? So that one's pretty straightforward there. I would say you'll get it during the campaign though, just by dumb luck. Complete a Prophecy involves just spending silver coins at Navani to get a prophecy, and an encounter at the Bestiary Blood Altar is something you should probably do for the purposes of getting yourself a bleed immunity flask. I do not like doing Act 10 without a bleed immunity flask, and for that matter, I don't really like doing Act 9 without one either, and that's because there's a couple of zones in there. The Blood Aqueduct is brutal without bleed immunity, and so is, or not necessarily bleed immunity, but the ability to suppress bleeds that are on you. And additionally, there is also the Foothills has a lot of physical damage that can inflict bleeds and can really tear you to shreds. So for those reasons, it is very good to use the Bestiary Blood Altar while you're leveling to craft yourself an immunity to bleed flask. So that's an option that you've got all through. So I'm going to call this Act 9, although it can be done earlier. All intros to old League mechanics. One thing I should clarify here, and just before I do that, let me just set up a word wrap on the spreadsheet here. How do we do that again? It's unfortunately, I have my works copy of Microsoft Excel on this computer, so I can't really use that for things that aren't work related. So I'll have to do it. Yeah, there we go. We're using a free alternative program. So yeah, like I was saying, possessed monsters are just as a quick recap on how they happen. So there's those ghosts that fly around sometimes. If you one-shot the ghosts from off screen, you won't ever get a possessed monster, but the ghosts will sort of run away from you, and if they run in the broad direction of a rare monster, they will attempt to do like a 3-second cast time where they will eventually possess that rare, and that rare will become much more scary. There's a few other ways to force possessed monsters as well. There is a room in Elva's Incursion Temple, but all of these, given that you only need one possessed monster, these are all just massive overkill. So, Ritual Encounters 2. Ritual Encounters 2 requires you to do 4 Ritual Encounters in a single area. I believe that can't be done until Act 8. I believe, and I could be wrong on this, but my belief is that the number of Ritual Encounters that you get is set at a minimum of 3, a maximum of 4, and that the actual number that you get is there's a percentage counter, a percentage chance, like you get a random variable from 1 to 100, and the zone level is added to that random variable, and if that exceeds 100, then you get 4 instead of 3. That's the way I believe it works. And if that's the case, you can't do it until area level 50. Hang on. No, not exactly. Maybe I'm just confusing myself here. That is then added to 50. That's what I meant. So that's how I think it works. If you, I think you can't do it until zone level 50. So that's what we're going to say there, that I think you need to be in Act 8. Reroll favors is, I need to discuss strategy when it comes to the rituals and rerolling. My opinion is that you should reroll fairly often. Less than Zizarin suggests if you've watched any of his videos, but quite a bit. Hey, Flabber Jiggles. Yeah, I thought I'd give streaming it a shot. Just something a little bit different. I actually did this on Twitch for the last league, but I thought, why not give it a shot over here as well? Just see how people like it. It's easier for people to view it after the fact on YouTube than it is on Twitch. So this is definitely going to be in your first 12. Spending 2,500 tribute in a favour, I believe, again, can't be done till Act 8. But again, this is just training and ritual mechanics. Nothing more than that. Ritual types. So there are 5 common rituals, and there's a bunch of uncommon and rare rituals. These are all common ones. So that is going to be trivial. As always, people tend to underestimate how many things you need to do. When there are 5 possibilities, people underestimate how many different rituals you need in order to get one of each of the 5 of them. But on average, getting your 5th one is going to take you 5 rituals. Getting your 4th one is going to take you 2.5, because there's 2 you could get, 2 in 5 chance that you're going to advance. It's going to take you 1 2/3 to get the one before that, 1 1/4, 1. Just doing some quick sums in my head, that's going to take you an average of 13 rituals. That is not many, but it's also not as few as people would think. That said, if you're only doing two ritual encounters per act, you'll have this done by about Act 6. Average of 13-ish ritual encounters in the acts. After acts, new rituals are added, which makes these rarer. So once you're into maps, there's a bunch of new rituals like the Apocalyptic Ritual that can appear. These are, I believe, 5 times rarer. Hey, Lantern, how's it going? Just thought I'd try something a little bit new. Act Bosses 2 is straightforward. Again, I'd be interested to know if people think it would be useful to do mechanics guides for these bosses. I generally haven't done them for the earlier parts of the game, but this just requires you to complete Act 10. It's definitely in your first 12. If you want mechanics guides, please ask in the comments below. Oops, I don't currently have any. But yeah, those encounters are all pretty straightforward once you get there. Yeah, doing good, Lantern. Been sort of just felt like I needed a little bit of a quick break from actually playing the game, and thought, why not just stream the writing process of the challenge guides, because I got to do it anyway, and it's more fun to do it while streaming. Hey Nixon, how's it going? So we've got Encounters 2 next. So this is something that you cannot do until you're in maps. And you should, on average, be able to do this within, let me see, 3 of these are map-only encounters. So Breaches are map-only, they're in 1 in 10 at maps. Metamorphs are map-only, 1 in 10 maps. Blights are map-only, they're in 1 in 10 maps. You need 3 independent or 1 in 10 chances to all come up. On average, it's going to take you 10 to get the last one. I think that's going to take you about 18 maps on average, so I'm going to call this 20 maps on average to get all 3 of them that you need. And an Abyss you'll get during the storyline. So this is just an intro to past league mechanics. All save Abyss are map only. Yeah, there's a fair amount of grind in these. I think actually it's more that there's a bunch of challenging ones later on. So like Nixon and Marathon are talking out that that it feels like it's really grindy once you get 25. That's often the case, and usually my approach is to do 1,000 maps before I even really try to make an effort on the challenges. And now obviously that's not my advice to you if you're going for 24. That's if you're going for 36 or 40. But this time they've gone at the top end for much harder combat encounters. So I'll get to that later, but basically this is the league in which your boss killing skills are going to be the most tested if your goal is to get 40 of 40. If your goal is to get 36 of 40, you have two divergent paths you can take. You can go for a massive grind, or you can go for the hard fights. And if you're in a trade league, you can bypass a lot of the hard fights by buying them from other players. But if you're going for 40 of 40, you'll have to do both of those divergent paths. I would generally suggest that players who are looking to get the Ritualist Hideout, the path of least resistance is going to be to avoid the grindy ones and to do the difficult fights. You'll get there, Nixon, on the Maven. There's a good guide that was put out by Zizaran, and there's also a guide that I saw. Someone made a really impressive Frostbomb Elementalist, and yes, you can get all the Crystal King through other players. So that's Encounters 2. Vendor recipes. These ones are always fun. So vendor recipes is a tutorial system. This one is going to require you to get into maps because you're going to need to have a sextant. You're going to need to have 3 sextants. So we're going to say 20 maps are going to need to be done in order to get these. Now, this one is a tutorial in the vendor recipe system. There's a whole bunch of recipes where you can go to a vendor and present them a specific combination of items, and they will return you specific things. I'm not going to explain every option here. I'm going to explain the ones that I recommend. So, Life Flask. You want to vendor 3 of the same Life Flask and not an Eternal or a Divine tier. So Life Flask, 3 for 1 recipe. Chance Orb. There are 2 different Chance Orb recipes. There is one that is also available for the Chaos Orb, and the Chance Orb recipe is to vendor a full set of rare equipment, so covering every inventory slot on your character. This means you need a 2-handed weapon, bows count, or a weapon, a one-hander and a shield, or 2 one-handers. Then you also need a belt, 2 rings, 1 amulet, and a set of gloves, a set of boots, a helmet, and a torso armor. If the lowest item level of these is 59 or lower, you'll receive at least 1 Chance Orb, potentially 2 or 3, depending on other configurations. If the lowest item level is 60 through 74 inclusive, then you will receive Chaos Orbs instead. If it is 75 and up, you will receive Regal Orbs instead. The quantity of them that you get, it's 1 base for them all being rare. It's 2 if you get an extra 1 if the items are all unidentified, and you get an extra 1 if all the items that accept normal quality are 20 quality. So if they're all, say, this doesn't include jewelry, so if everything is 20 quality, you will get an additional 1 of whatever orb it's giving you. You only need to do this for Chance and Chaos Orbs. There is another option for Chance Orbs. There is a 5 for 1 recipe on. There is a 5. What's called the Straight Flush recipe, and what you're looking at here is you need to find a unique item plus a rare, a magic, and a normal item of the same base type, and sell them all to a vendor, and you will receive 5 Chance Orbs. So Chance and Chaos, full set recipe. Chisel. Chisel, there's 2 recipes for cartographers' chisels. Actually, there's 3. You can sell 1 map that has a quality of 20%. You can sell any set of maps that have combined quality exceeding 40%. Or you can sell any of the one-handed hammers. So that's the gavel, the stone hammer, and there's one other one as well, one lower one. I can't think of the name of it. If that is at 20 quality and you sell a map, you'll also get a chisel. Though the easiest way is just to sell a 20 quality map. There was a time in the game very early on that the cartographer's chisel recipes were worth doing. At the moment, it's really just something for the vendor recipes there. Yeah, Gilded Fossils will also work, as Lantern is saying in the chat. You will be, if you're watching this after the stream has ended, you will be able to see the live chat playback, but I don't know if you can do it on mobile. I know you can do it on desktop. Regatta Champion is asking, is there an aspect of beast farming I'm missing? I just ran 25 beast missions in Lyra Arthane with beast talents, and I'm very underwhelmed by the results. Yeah, there's a couple of things. The biggest one is having a group of players. Essentially, if you've got 6 players with you, then everyone that is in the instance at the time that you first encounter the beast will be able to get it. That's just broken in conjunction with phenomenal lures. Absolutely and utterly nuts. So that's the most broken way of doing it, is doing it in a group. But solo, there is a specific, I think it is in Lyra Arthane, isn't it? The option, there's a bunch of the beast talents that are strong, but ultimately it's still a numbers game. Flabberjiggles, yeah, it is easy to do the Chance Orb recipe, it's just not worth it, the straight flush. It's too much of a hassle, but yes, it is easy. Cliff Barnett is right. It is indeed the Rock Breaker that's the low one. And Spamberg Zero is saying the good old days of Exalting tier 78 maps. That is true. It was the case that people used to use Exalted Orbs on maps once they had the perfect first couple of mods. But it was considered a marginal choice even then. And yeah, you're saying that you can see the text playback after the stream on mobile, but it's hidden, and it isn't really useful on mobile. It's something that's more there for desktop. That's why I'm saying the questions now rather than just leaving them as is. So what else do we have here? We have map 3 for 1. So that means just vendor 3 maps with the same name and the same tier. Sextant, and actually that's map Sextant. Onyx Amulet. Rare Amulet plus blue, green, and red gems. So this is an important recipe. This is a genuinely good recipe at endgame. If you have a bad mod, let's say you've got a Coral Amulet that's Shaper influenced, you can vendor that Coral Amulet that's Shaper influenced in conjunction with a blue gem, a green gem, and a red gem. So they can just be level 1 gems, and they don't need quality. What's returned to you will be an unidentified Shaper influenced Onyx Amulet of the same item level as the original Coral Amulet. This is really, really strong and is something that is always forgotten about by players and is really good. Prismatic Ring, 3 times 2 stone, all different types. This is a recipe that isn't particularly useful anymore, but is kind of cool. So, just having a quick check of the... yeah, so Flabberjiggles, the thing that is happening, like maps used to be treasure in a way that they're not now. If you think these days the treasure, if you like, the key treasure at endgame is scarabs for consumables, and it's fractured fossils, and it's delirium orbs. Yes, it does. The Onyx Amulet is legit. Just get it keeps the influence. Not all of those recipes do, but that one does. Definitely really, really strong. Was much stronger before Conqueror Exalts became a thing. Back before Conqueror Exalts, it was much rarer to see high tier Shaper and Elder influence jewelry. So they've just become more common now because, not so much because they're more common, but because lots of players want a specific different influence instead. So there's been a lot of the values fallen off. Fun fact, as far as I know, Prismatic Ring recipe also preserves influence. So if you vendor a Shaper influenced 2-stone ring of each variety, so a blue and red, a red and green, and a blue and green Shaper influenced 2-stone ring, I believe you get a Shaper influenced Prismatic Ring, although that one I'd need to test. Vendor recipes, though, is something that everyone sort of always forgets about a lot of these until they're needed. Beacon is next. This is going to require you to get to tier 5 or 6 maps. I've had conflicting reports on this. I personally got the Maven's Beacon when I was immediately after getting my first Watchstone. But I've heard conflicting reports on that. I've heard some people getting it a little bit later in progression than I did. So I'm just going to call it tier 5 or 6 maps and run 5 to 10 tier 5 plus maps. You'll meet the Envoy. He'll give it to you. I do believe there's a degree of randomness in getting the beacon. Not in the sense of it being particularly egregiously random, just that it won't be immediate. Hey Ahmed, how's it going? I'm just going to get to Encounters 3 at this point. So, this is Precision Boss Kills. There's a couple of these that are moderately dangerous. These are all easier to do in the lowest tier maps available. And I would suggest that because these are, because the Gorgon one is a little bit trickier, these are ones that we're going to put, we're going to say, you can do this in your first 12, but I'm not going to say that it needs to be in your first 12. So I'm going to put it in the 24 tier. although I do think that a lot of people who are going for 12 will be all right with it. Yeah, Ahmed, I found I had a lot of tech issues early in the league. There were two things that helped me with that. The first one was going into the GGG files, and there's a collection of minimap history. I had something like 30,000 files in there. Deleting them was an absolute godsend. That improved performance probably 30%. The second thing that I did was I began the process of uninstalling the game, and it'll give you the option, do you want to uninstall the game or do you want to repair the game? I hit the repair, and that seemed to improve it as well. It wasn't like an out of sight thing, but I've gone from this being the worst performance since Legion to it being a fairly mediocre performance. I've gone from having, say, 1 crash per 45 minutes to 1 crash per 3 hours of gameplay. So it's annoying, and I crash more when I'm streaming, and that's why I'm hardly streaming the actual game at the moment, either here or on Twitch, but it has improved quite a bit. The key thing, though, was deleting that minimap cache was huge. So that's something that's done in File Explorer, and it definitely improved. And yeah, I agree with Flabberjiggles that Forking River is one. You've got to be very careful of saying that with the, let's just say you wouldn't want to put that in the first 30 seconds of a video with the way that YouTube's algorithms work for detecting cursing. The minimap cache is, so I think from memory, I would just say do a Google search for Path of Exile minimap cache, because it's the biggest pollution on your hard drive of extra files that will be there. It's all over the place. If reinstalling didn't help, I am surprised. That is more of a serious problem. I know that I'm having a lot of CPU limiting problems at the moment. I'm using a 5-year-old PC. It was a reasonably good gaming rig when I bought it. I am looking for an upgrade very soon. In fact, I've sort of budgeted for it. I just haven't got around to getting it. But that is something that the game is really hard on CPU at the moment. Anyways, I want to jump back to Encounters 3 at this point. So this is Precision Boss Kills. Let's just call this I'm going to call this Tier 10. It can be done earlier than that, but at least I think it can. I'm just not sure what tier Self-Events is. I'll check that for the actual guide. But Precision Boss Kills. Burst down Claiborne. So the trick with Claiborne is just to kill him before he can even think of summoning any drowned crew, and you'll be fine. If you can kill the boss in 3 seconds, then you'll have no problems with this achievement. If you can't kill a boss within 3 seconds, then drop to a lower tier and scour your maps until you do. The Forking River map. Again, just being careful to say that as forking rather than as anything else. This one, again, Burst Down. Burst Down, Armored in low tier. Yeah, it is like that, Andrew Ray, isn't it? It's like it's lots and lots of crashing at the moment. Lysius is you'll get by accident. Lysius is just a case of do the map a few times and you will get it. There's no ifs, no buts, no maybes. Gorgon. The Gorgon is harder. For the Gorgon, what you're going to want to do is you want to play a build or at least slot in a skill that has very careful precision damage on it. So you might want to use, say for instance, your main attack skill is Fireball. What you're going to want to do, well actually Fireball, you'll get this by accident if you deliberately get yourself petrified. So let's not use that. Let's use something that does instant damage like Arc. So if your build is normally using Arc, what you're going to want to do is have some other skill that can do some damage. And I think that the best way to do it is having a golem that is linked to Culling Strike. So you're going to want to burst the boss down to about, say, 12% health. Then you want to deliberately get yourself petrified. For For minion builds, you might get it by accident. Flabberjiggles is just saying there at the moment that minion builds will have an easy time on this. You might get it by accident, but you might also find that your minions kill it while it's casting its thing. If that's the case, you can always reduce the number of support gems that you're using if you're killing the boss too fast. So, Gorgon, let's just write some quick notes on this. Cull linked to a golem on most builds. Even if you don't normally use that. Because then you can get the boss down pretty low. When he starts casting the Petrify effect, the last action you take before you're petrified is to summon your golem, and then you can use your then your golem will cull him. And Ivan Rocker is saying in chat that you can use Spell Totem too, and that's correct. Spell Totem plus cull, another option. And that is a good point there. Replica Rumi's Concoction. Thanks, Jasmine. That is an excellent idea. That's the one that lets you fully act when you're petrified, doesn't it? But it only has a like 30% of base duration for a granite flask, which I think is 1.2 seconds. Am I right on that? It's minus 90%. Or replica roomies. That is a very smart idea, though. I do like that one a lot. That is a cunning thought. Turning divination cards. Let's go through this one here. Why have I not got itemized prophecy yet? I'm sure I turn in divs. So we have, in terms of how far through progression you're going to need to be, you're going to need to get yourself a Scarab one. Ugh, that's horrible. Getting a Scarab there, that means that you need to get Chimera's Cut, which comes from a trail, or you need to get one of the rarer ones. Yeah, so Flabberjiggles, that's 1.2 seconds with quality, because quality will add 20%, or if you get 26%, then that's going to be 1.44 seconds. That should be long enough, I think. I really do like that idea. So you're going to need to do a bit of a trail in order to get divination cards. I think you're going to need to do maybe 10 to 20 Jun missions. So that's going to mean that this is definitely going to be in the 24 category. 24 challenge category. This is not going to be one for the first 12. Prophecy. Ackle's Prophecy is a divination card which drops like crazy from Heist. Perception Heist. So that is any heist that has perception as its main skill will drop heaps and heaps and heaps of those. Map. There's the T5 map card from Foothills. Foothills isn't the only place that can drop, but Foothills is the one that comes to mind. It will take you about 6 full clears of the Foothills to pick up 3 copies of this card on average. Then you can turn it in and get that one done. Scarab. Chimera interactions in the trail. I think that's the best one for a Scarab. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else, but I can't think of any others that come to mind. Now, I got a question. Do people know if Tabula Rasa counts as a 6-link here? I think it does, but I'm not absolutely sure. And yes, Bambergerizer is pointing out that, yeah, if you're in a trade league, by all means, just buy this one. Buy Chimera's Cut is the key thing there. Flabberjiggles is saying the Sulphite Scarab one. That is rarer than people think it is. I have had that drop. I did 40 maps chasing it to try and track down its rarity, and I only got 1 copy of the card. Now, that doesn't tell you for certain that it is only 1 per 40 maps, but it's just not all that common. Jasmine, you're saying Infested Valley, is that the drop location for the Cartographer's Delight card? So 6-link is Humility. I knew I'd turned in Skin of the Loyal divination card because I'm playing in trade leagues. So I knew that I'd only turned in the Skin of the Loyal one. Random Scarab Ice Cream card is Infested Valley. Okay, cool. Or Infested Valley. That's useful to know. That may actually end up being for... That may actually end up being the best way to do that. So 6 link is humility, unique. There's 1,000,001 choices. Why not humility? And Vaal Gem is there's. I'm just trying to think of the name of it, but there's a divination card for a level 21 Vaal Gem that comes from maybe it's a 20 quality Vaal Gem. Yeah, 20 quality Vaal Gem that comes from Vaal side areas. So I believe that that's the best one there for the Vaal Gems. I'm not absolutely confident there's not a better Vaal Gem source than that. Cataclysm is the one. It's is that 20 quality, or is that level 20, or is it level 21? In fact, I can just have a quick look at that. PoE the Cataclysm. See what the info on that one was here. It's yeah, that's level 21 spell gem, so that's not guaranteed to be a Vaal Gem, but it can be. And Vaal Summon Skeletons, that is the correct one, and that comes from that Exile, Rogue Exile. Yeah, you're right, that is the best one. I will keep the Cataclysm as an option, can drop it. Also the Bones drops from a Rogue Exile that is everywhere in Delve. Check your loot filter. Bones may be hidden. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to leave that one as the options for the turning in divination cards. Again, if you're playing this in a trade league, then you will be able to bypass all of this, because none of these divination cards are particularly rare or expensive. Lastly, we have mentioned humility in there. There are 2 options for farming humility now. You can either do it in the maps that drop it, so that is Waterworks, Waterways, and something else. And there is also yeah, so Waterways and Channel can drop it for humility, but also Heist Armor Chest. So it is Volatile Power. I'm just going to quickly bring that one up. PoE Volatile Power. I have a feeling that that is from one of the same maps, one of the sort of underground maps. Crystal Ore, that's right. Crystal Ore Dig Excavation. That's the one I was thinking of. So Volatile Power. So Volatile Power div card from various underground theme maps. See, it's funny with when I say Waterworks, because before I came to Path of Exile, I played Dungeons and Dragons Online a lot, and that has like I guess the sort of the first big dungeon chain in it is the Waterworks. So that's immediately what comes to mind on that. Dapper Prodigy, definitely rarer than Humility. In fact, I'll just bring up the stats that someone did. 50,000 stack decks, because this is from stack decks, so it's not the same, but it should give you a sense as to their comparative rarity, because I do believe that stack decks respect the rarity of a divination card. So Humility appears to be twice as common as the Dapper Prodigy. Imperial Legacy is, I think, the same rarity roughly as... It's slightly more common than Humility, but because you need 22 of them instead of 9, it ends up taking longer. It's definitely the case that for a 6-link, the easiest set to self-compile is definitely the one for Humility, and also that has the bonus of giving you the unique item for free. Ritual Rewards. This one's interesting in that you need to get 20 different things, so that means that on average the last one should take you 20 in theory. But it's a lot less than that because a lot of these are really common. The rarest one here is the Ritual Rewards. That's the special bases. And whilst they are rare when you need to get specific ones, and we'll come to that later when we're talking about the really grindy ones, it's not so bad here. And it's, yeah, so basically this is actually something, this is probably going to be a lot of people's 12th challenge. In terms of your progression requirements here, you need to get Harbinger items. Harbinger items, I believe, requires you to get to at least level 52 content in order to be able to get Harbinger orbs to drop. I don't think that anything else here is gated behind a level, although I'm not sure about talismans. Talismans are awesome now. Like Spam Burglar is saying that talismans are bad. They're really good. I've been using a talisman. I think my last 3 or 4 jewelry upgrades in this league have all been talismans. I'm now looking to graduate past it, but you know, I've got a massive life, 120 odd resists, and endurance charge generation all on an amulet. Like, they're awesome. Okay, so that counts for ritual, does it? In that case, that trivializes it. All in all, I think that you can do this with 30 or 40 rituals past level 50. And I'm going to say this is in your first 12. Straightforward and not nasty like it looks. There are other ones that look nice, but that are actually nasty. This isn't one of them. This is the other way around. Heist Encounters. Yeah, I do find that Regatta Champion saying that talismans don't sell very well in the Trade League because they're hard to find. I agree with that, but they are really good. Especially if you're playing in solo self-found. I think it may be a very long time until you outgrow a talisman, and you probably won't until you're starting to harvest craft something amazing. So this is all about beating the Heart of the Grove. Heart of the Grove is rare. I think that this is going to be something for 1,000 maps or so. This is going to be in your 36. I think that this is too RNG heavy for players to consider putting in their 24. Harvests are absolutely bonkers. Spam Burgerizer, yes, they have buffed talismans absolutely massively. So to give you a sense of what they changed. Firstly, they roll like they are using a Sanctified Fossil on steroids. They seem to be heavily biased towards having 5 or 6 mods, and they drop with an anointment. They are amazing now. You will often get really strong ones. Really, really strong ones. Yeah, the lucky rolls are really good. It is really common, like a sort of, if you're running tier 15 content, a reasonably typical talisman. If you get 5 talisman rewards, here's what the best one will look like. Tier 1 life, tier 2 resist, tier 3 resist, tier 4 resist, 1 useful damage mod, and an anoint that's not perfect but that is okay, and then a talisman implicit on top of that. That's going to be your typical best out of every 5. They are really good. And there is sometimes, like Regatta Champion saying, they seem to drop with a theme. There seems to be a bias towards commonly used roles as well. So yeah, you'll find they're really good. I haven't actually encountered the Heart of the Grove this league, as you might be able to see from my screen. So so people are saying that they've got new mechanics. The Heart of the Grove was probably about Shaper difficulty in the Harvest League. So I'm not sure how difficult it is now. So people that have... Ahmed says that you've encountered the Heart of the Grove. How would you say it compares to the Shaper in difficulty now? Oh yeah, and that's a good point. Lex Proxima is best. Yeah, and that is a good point. In Harvest League, you could choose what map mods you engaged the Heart of the Grove with, whereas nowadays you are more likely to encounter the Heart of the Grove with nasty mods. So in that sense, it's like a Shaper Guardian. I do believe that it's harder mechanically than the Shaper Guardians and more unforgiving, but it's also, at least in the Harvest League, it was certainly easier than Uber Elder. So if we say that it's somewhere in that range, I think that's pretty reasonable. So the roots are attacking in a different way. Okay, look, I'm just going to have to say for the moment that Ashabi fight harder than Shaper, easier than Uber Elder. how would you say, given that Shaper is easier than Cirrus 8 and Cirrus 8 is easier than Uber Elder, would you say it's pretty comparable to Cirrus 8? Or would you... And yeah, I think Pacapalis makes a point that it's a more unfamiliar fight for players as well. So I think we'll just say it's comfortably in the 36 challenge bracket. If you might easily be able to get that in a like in a party in Trade League. You know, it's actually very easy to buy from another player for like 30 chaos. But I think we'll just put it as being sort of Cirrus 8 difficulty. So ritual-based types. This is a very difficult one because this is very much RNG based driven, and you don't get many chances at these. So let's say this is going to be one for people who are running 2,000 plus maps. It's always the case that some people are going to find an encounter easier and other people harder, but I think most people find Cirrus 8 easier than Uber Elder. It does come down to, yeah, your practice with the encounter. I certainly know that if there's even the slightest stutter of lag, I can usually recover in Uber Elder, but I can't recover in Cirrus. If I die once in Cirrus, it's usually fight over. Like I just can't get into a stable routine again. And the things that stuff me up are usually the spinning negation beams. But yes, Jasmine is correct. You need to run red maps here. I believe that all of these are the high tier ones. So you need to be running red tier maps for these. I believe they're like level 75 plus and 80 plus. Some bases are level 80 plus. And these are very rare. Much rarer than you think. Prioritize them ruthlessly, as you may not see another. It's enough to defer one. Cannot be bought in trade. Run more maps. Run ritual vessels. Now, ritual vessels are an interesting point here. Ritual vessels are something that, like, the people that have been saying they've been getting these are on Reddit are the people who are using the ritual vessels quite a bit. So basically, I think that with the ritual-based types, you don't need ritual vessels to get them, but I think that you'll get them much, much, much more commonly. So I'll need to play around with that. Flabberjiggles, what does the Heart of the Grove drop now? I've actually not seen. Yeah, that's true, Snake Oil Liniment. Deferring is enough. It is enough to defer one to get credit, but like, yeah, it depends. Like, you may not want them, but these are some cool bases. Not so much the boots. The boots were terrible from memory. I think except the Storm Rider boots, they've got potential. But most, like, the helmets are amazing as well. The helmets are fantastic. So, Ritual Encounters 3. Oh, you updated the wiki on it. Cool. I'll have to have a look at that. So, it drops Infused Beachhead. That is good to know, if it's dropping that now. I got an Infused Beachhead from one of the Harvest Crafts where I sacrificed a fragment of a fragment that had dropped in a Tier 5 Beachhead. So that was cool. What were the Debilitation Gauntlets again? I remember the ones that excited me were the Storm Boots and 2 of the helmets. They were amazing. Oh yeah, the Uber Duber Labyrinth keys. I really like the Uber Duber Lab keys. So those are really cool. And yeah, Pick Up the Lantern makes a good point. The offhand gloves, that's the Sinistral gloves, they are amazing with Spectral Shield Throw. So this one is really straightforward. This can be done once you're in maps, and I think this is going to be the sort of thing you can do in 10 maps time. It's easily done in your first 12, and it just requires you to use... so this is a tutorial in Ritual Vessels. Oh yeah, the helmet is funny. The helmet is definitely fun. Also, it drops the Facetor's lenses. That's useful to know. That I'll need to play around. I need to just play around with the Heart of the Grove more. I need to actually learn the fight. Like, I sort of didn't learn it properly in I didn't learn it properly in Harvest because I didn't really enjoy Harvest much. And yes, Regatta Champion, there is an achievement for completing the Simulacrum. It's a do all of these things, and Simulacrum is one of them. Conquerors is next. This requires you to get 20 Watchstones, and probably that takes maybe 250 maps and a hard boss. So this is going to be in your first 24 challenges, and you can do Cirrus with no Watchstones. With 0 Watchstones socketed to learn the fight. Learning the Cirrus fight is definitely worth your while if you've never learned it before. It's a difficult fight, but it is very learnable, and it's a lot easier if you have Corrupting Blood immunity and resilience against shock. That means if you're immune to shock and to Corrupting Blood, then the Die Beam will not one-shot you if your build's got a fair bit of health buffer. On Awakening level 8, the damage will be higher, and it will probably still one-shot you, but that does help you just make some mistakes and learn the fight. The new unique Doppelganger guys is cool. I'm going to be putting that into the series I've been doing on the endgame uniques at some point. That's definitely on the list. So, Encounters 4. This is a Xanamods tutorial. This is pretty significant grind-wise. I'm going to call this 500 to 1,000 maps. And I'm going to call this in the first 24, although you can skip this one in your 24. Xanamod tutorial and reward for heavy use. You only need to do 6 of these, and you will get them by accident if you run a lot of maps. Basically, that's all there really is to say for it. You only get credit for the Legion encounters if you kill every monster you free. So we'll just put a note to that effect. You need to kill every mob you free. Don't leave one straggler. That said, you don't need Legion to do this. Warband leaders are something you can add on to your map by using Xana's Warbands mod, or you can run the Lighthouse map, or the Acid Caverns map, or the Shipyard. So there's a couple of them there. Rukthamal Geraldkin, I think it is. The best trick for Cirrus the best thing is firstly to practice, and secondly to watch Don the Crown's amazing video on tips for the Cirrus fight. I think it was called Never Fail Cirrus Again. It was something like that. He put out a guide that was aimed at people that know the mechanics of the fight, but that find they're making a bunch of mistakes. And what Don the Crown does, he's someone with a lot of hardcore experience and has done that fight a lot of times in hardcore leagues. So he has a real sense as to exactly how to do it very carefully. And that comes through in the video. It's the single best thing that's been put out for Cirrus as far as I'm aware. I highly recommend it. Just do a search for it, because I'm not going to be able to find it easily whilst doing the stream, but it is excellent. So I think it was Don the Crown, Never Fail Cirrus Again was the name of the video from memory. Encounters 4, I think that really is just everything. It's grindy slash use Xana's mods a lot. Warbands will be, skip Warbands. Warbands is just a lot. And Armord's point about Bleed Bow is a good one. Builds that can do damage with a very small amount of your time invested in standing still and attacking the boss are the ones that will do the best against Cirrus. Because Cirrus is a fight where you need to take breaks from doing damage in order to dodge his abilities, and that can be difficult because he has Energy Shield. So he will recover his Energy Shield in full if he's not hit for, I think it's like 15 seconds or something like that. And Pacapalos is saying, never brick Cirrus again. That's the name of it. And yeah, look, at that point, when he's at 20% and you need to put them together, that's something that you can do. Paul Dudley, that is someone else that puts together the Reddit guides. I find they're worth reading, but I often do disagree with some of the points that get made there. So, for instance, ritual-based types, I think no one... Like, I think that the Reddit guy suggested that that was in the medium tier, whereas I think it's one of the grindiest challenges that we've ever seen. So do read those Reddit guides because they're useful, but I do disagree with a couple of them. But it is not me. Ascend. This is going to take you about 200 maps on average in solo self-found, 400 if you're unlucky. And it is going to be... It'll be your 12th challenge for a lot of people. Essential part of character power. There's not really much to say about ascending. If you aren't familiar with the Azaro fight, let me know, and it's something I can consider producing a guide for. In the interim, though, Engineering Eternity, who has unfortunately retired from PoE content creation as far as I can tell. Guy's just really busy with the rest of his life. He has an outstanding guide for the Azaro fight. So if you want to learn the mechanics of the fight, then definitely watch his video because it's outstanding. And I really hope he comes back one day because his videos were something that really helped me when I was going from sort of a casual player to an endgamer for the first time. Mavens Crucible. This is going to require you to do some hard fights and is going to require you to do a bunch of maps in the same zone. You are going to need to be at tier 16 maps for this. However, you don't really need to grind all that much. You only need to be at tier 16 maps in one octant, and you are then going to need to do 3, 4, 5, and 6. 3, 4, 5, and 6 is 28 maps, plus the Maven Crucible fights. The Crucible fight is tough. So I'm going to say that this is in your first 24, but feel free to skip it and pick one of the later ones instead. Tough boss fight. Scour those invites until you are confident. Now, the 3... Actually, let me just put a comment there that quest ones are pre-scoured and uncraftable. So you will receive quest ones at 3, 4, 5, and when you get into the 3, 4, 5, and 6 boss fights. To give you a sense as to how the Maven's Crucible works, when you are running a map, if the tier of that map is high enough, you will be able to summon the Maven to come and watch the fight, and she will then stick the boss into her ritual vessels. She has them as well, and she will then put them away, and you'll get to fight them later on. You will then fight 3 bosses at once, then 4 bosses at once, 5, 6, and then 10. The 10-way fight is the capstone of this. It will take place in a monster level 83 zone, so it will be tier 16 equivalent, and the invitation has no mods by default. Oh, well, you can craft it the same way you can craft a map, and it has mods from the same pool as the map pool. So for that reason, while you're getting your feet wet with the Maven content, scour these invites. Once you feel really strong, really confident, then alch them for extra rewards. But to start with, do them normally. Heist Encounters. So this is all about the twins. This is going to be the first division between SSF and Trade Enabled. This is something that you can do in your first 24 in Trade Enabled. This is something you are going to leave for 40th, well, maybe not 40th, but 37 to 40 if you're in SSF. So, SSF, 2,000 maps, Trade, easy. Spam Burglarizer, I don't have any hard data on it. The person to ask about that, person who's doing a lot of tracking, is Grimro. So his YouTube channel is the word Grim followed by R for Romeo, O for Oscar, and he's also on Twitch. He, I believe, is a person. He's just been chain farming all sorts of Maven content. and has been running a lot of the invitations, including the hard mode invitations from the Uncharted Realms, running them elked and even elk-filed. So he is probably the best source of information there. In trade, buy twins. In SSF, complete. So, all green heists, then grind T16s in Lyra Arthane. So, the mechanics of how the twins drops, you will need to be in Lyra Arthane, where there's double chance of getting a smuggler's cache. Then you'll need to complete almost every single green heist. These green heists, there's a couple of chains of them, and one of the chains ends with the twins encounter. You cannot get the twins contract to drop until you've done all of the prerequisites. And that's the thing that I think in Heist League caught a lot of people out. It was quite rare, but it wasn't as rare as I think a lot of people thought. However, it was rare enough because a lot of people weren't completing the chain. So if you're in solo self-found, you're going to just need to do all of the quest heists, and then eventually you'll get there. Then you will be able to eventually have the thing drop. I do believe they changed it so they can drop in tiers 14, 15, and 16 now. It used to only be able to drop in tier 16. But then you're going to want to go to Lyra Arthane, you're going to want to spec the heist nodes, which you probably want to spec anyway, even if you don't like heists, and then get them. Getting the twins contract will also obviously get you a unique contract, and in the time that you're searching that, you will have God knows how many heist contracts and heist blueprints run. Heist blueprints were really lucrative at League Start. Unfortunately, not quite as good anymore, but they're still solid. Level 90, this is just a low-end grind. This will take you about 250 maps without the hard boss, this one. This can be in your first 12, and it's probably going to be your 12th or 13th challenge for most people. Straightforward. Don't die. That's basically all there is really to say. Dying when you're at level 89 will set you back about 2 tier 15 maps, so it's not devastating to have a death. They start really sucking when you're about level 93. You can always save up. If you're a bit underconfident, you can save up a full tank of Nico Sulphite, and then when you start getting really close to 90, then you can just use the Delve Mines, just go sideways at like depth 130 or so. You should find that the monsters there are very weak, and you'll be fine. Allocate Atlas passive trees. This is basically doing the Mavens Crucible. This is Mavens Crucible in all zones. That's not where I want that. That's where I want that. So this is Atlas passive trees. Yeah, hardcore. Hardcore is like that. Hardcore. This is the most brutal league to do 40 challenges in hardcore that has ever existed. I believe. I might not quite be true on that just because of some of the really early ones. But I think it may be the single most dicey one that's ever existed. So this is going to take you about T16 plus 500 maps, and is going to be one that you might get in 24, but maybe in 36. So this is one where you need to do the 10-way Maven fight in all 8 octants of the Atlas. This is moderately grindy. It's not overwhelmingly or anything. And it's something that you can do by blitzing bosses. I've actually just started to do that, to work on that now. I got the 10 point. I got the points I most wanted in the zones I most cared about them. But now I'm going back and doing this. So essentially, this is something you'll probably get about the time you hit 120 awakening bonus, maybe 130 or 140. And it's pretty straightforward, but it's just going to take a little bit of mapping. The faster that your character is at clearing maps and killing weak bosses, the quicker you can do this. And do keep in mind that if your character's if you can add more move speed to your character, you can scour maps and do them really fast. And on what Ahmed's saying in chat at the moment, which is a comment, is the problem with 10 bosses Maven fight is that some boss abilities can overlap on you. The best solution to that is definitely killing bosses fast. It's one of those things that is like, it's a question between if you can focus on keeping your making your character more durable, or you can focus on making them do more damage. Doing more damage will help you more than being more tanky, because if you're tanky, you can get overwhelmed. Additionally, there are a few bosses you do not want in the Maven's Arena. You do not want Kaj ILI from the Val Temple in there. Let's just say that. Okay, 8 mod maps, 8 mod red maps. So the name of this challenge doesn't clarify that it is red maps, although the actual text of the challenge does. This is going to take you about T16 plus 200 maps. And it's going to be one that you'll do if you're going for 24. You can skip this if you're going for 12. And this is something that can be a little bit... These maps can be individually sketchy, much harder on hardcore. Val Orbs. Now, some of you may know more on this than I do. I believe, and I'm not sure of this, that a Val Orb applied to a tier 1 to 15 map has a 12.5% chance to turn it into an 8 mod map. A Val Orb applied to a tier 16 map has a 25% chance to turn it into an 8 mod map. I'm not sure that this is right, and I've not been able to find any large-scale research on it, but that's my belief. In any case, Val Orbs are at least 1 in 8 to 8 mod a map. Even if it is 12.5% all the time, that's still factually true. Okay, Ritual Encounters 4. So there are a set of common rituals that were in, I think it was Ritual Encounters 2, and then there's a set of uncommon ones and a set of rare ones. You are going to need to find all the rare ones here. So pick up the lantern, just to clarify that you're saying it's 25% chance on everything. The thing that happens there is that there is a 25% chance for it to reroll as the same map, but that is split between, it can split as the same, as a 4 mod, a 6 mod, and an 8 mod map, and I believe that it is 12.5% to reroll as 8 mod, 6.25 to reroll as 4 mod, 6.25 to reroll as 6 mod. And yeah, Ahmed's saying you need to start with the annoying one or choose the easy ones, and I agree with that in the 8-way fights. So with Ritual Encounters 4, you need to find all of the rare ones. There's no real pattern, no real strategy that I can find for this. I think it's just a case of doing more maps. And I've probably done about 500 maps at this time. I just haven't played a massive amount because of all the crashing. And I'm nearly there, but nearly is not good enough. And I'm going to say that this is going to take 1,000 maps on average as an estimate. I'm not sure of that, but that seems about right. Some of these are pretty rare, but they're not staggeringly rare. I believe that the opulent one, which I've seen 3 times, I believe that to be 10 times as rare as the normal tier ones. So normal tier ones are things like bitter. And then there's the glacial, which is the higher tier of bitter, which I think is also 5 or 10 times as rare as the base tier. So it's a weight of 10 on opulent, it's a weight of 100 on bitter, and there's a whole bunch of other ones. Encounters 5 is basically defeat the climactic encounters of some past League mechanics. Let's just call this Encounters 5 instead. So, here we have a bunch of old content, of which the hardest to access is, well, the Mastermind has the highest opportunity cost to access, the Delve Boss is the most RNG involved in accessing it, and the Simulacrum is the hardest to beat. Because the Simulacrum is the hardest to beat here, I'm going to say Simulacrum is the defining factor here. You need to be able to beat Kosis the Revelation under a fairly high amount of Delirium. So, yeah, I think on what Jacob's saying there, which is that got ritual 4 at 16 watchstones. I'm at something like, I've stopped trying to get the classic watchstones because I've filled out my atlas with the new watchstones. But I think that getting 16 watchstones, I think you got very lucky. I think I might be a little bit unlucky to not have it at. I think I've got 25 classic watchstones, and I've just stopped trying to get them because I've got 7 craftables in the rest. So, Delve Boss, Simulacrum is the hardest point here. That requires a character capable of killing Kosis the Revelation on maybe 75 to 90 to 100% delirious. That's no joke, but it's also not brutally hard. It's harder than the Shaper though. Probably actually I'd say that Kosis in wave 20, if you're unlucky and you get Kosis in wave 20, he's harder than Cirrus 8, but he's easier than Uber Elder. I'm going to call this 24 because if you get unlucky and get Kosis at wave 20, you can just fail the Simulacrum and farm a new one and start it again. So getting a Simulacrum took me about 300 maps from memory because I wasn't really trying for them. So I'm going to say, let's say 300 maps plus hard boss. Kosis in wave 20 might brick your Simulacrum if your character isn't strong. Delve Boss, you can get unlucky. Fighting Mastermind hurts. Why I say that is that fighting the Mastermind will completely crangle your Betrayal organizational chart, and Betrayal is a system that I need to do a guide on because it's something that I just have not made one. That's something I didn't know. So Kosis is weak against chaos damage, is he? That's useful to know. I would have actually guessed the other way around, but just by looking at him. So here you can skip 3 of the unique maps. Perandus Manor is rare. Doriani's Machinarium is rare. And then there's a few other options you can skip. The Vindar Square is a pain to get. And the rest of them are a bit easier. Spambergerizer is claiming Kosis is a gear check. I disagree with that. Kosis can be beaten. I think you're thinking of the Flicker Strike. The Flicker Strike can be dodged every time. So you don't need to be tanky enough to withstand even one hit of the Flicker Strike. But it's very difficult mechanically to dodge. And yeah, Cute Dog does have a guide on Betrayal as well. I think one of the good things Cute Dog did was a full playthrough from zero, from a completely reset board to a well set up syndicate, which is quite useful if you want to learn it. What I want to do is cover what I would term a beginner strategy as well as an advanced strategy in it, because I feel that there's a lot of videos for the advanced strategy, but there's not many for other things. And yeah, Jasmine is right in that Kosis does have, because of the energy shield that he's got, that can feel like a gear check. But even on a build that can't bypass it with chaos damage, I think you still can. Jacob's got a good point that the Delve Boss is going to, that you'll probably get that by the time you get to 250 depth. If you don't get it by 250, you get it by 300. So unique maps is, this is one of those ones that's a lot uglier in SSF than in trade. Bestiary is your friend for unique maps. And that's interesting. Paths Not Taken, which is in the Uncharted Realms, can give Perandus Manor and Doriani's, and that's really useful. That's a Zana mod, Zana affecting that. That improves your Zana missions. So that's an option there that's important. So unique maps, we're going to say that this is quite grindy. I'm going to call this 1,000 maps. In a trade league, you can trivialize it. It still is a 24 challenge one though, and this is trivial in trade. Possibly skip Doriani's, Perandus, Rare, Victor, Pain to Acquire, and then if you do one of those, Bestiary, good for unique maps, map sourcing. Also, Uncharted Realms and Zana missions. Yeah, so even if you don't intend to keep Uncharted Realms locked onto the Zana mission option, paths not taken, you can take it for a little while and respec out of it later. Explore the Atlas. This is just a pure grind. It's something you'll have by 1,000 maps, maybe, well, actually, no, let's say 750. I think you get this by 750 maps. This is sort of another one that can be done as, this 24 or 36, and in fact, I'm going to make the last one 24 or 36 as well. So this is semi-grindy, just run lots of maps. And you'll need to do T14 plus maps. You'll need to do T14 plus, and you'll also need, you will need 32 watchstones for this as well. So maybe I'll just put that as the, I'll put that as the tiering behind it. So you will need 32. I think you can technically get this with 28, but you'll get 32 for sure. And Paul Dudley's got an interesting point there as well with if you're running maps in Lexajoris, which is a pretty juicy section of the Atlas, and you take the Kadiro nodes, then you can farm Apprentice Mana that way as well. So lots of different options. Ripknots, the ritual bases you're thinking of are, these are the rare ones that you need here. They're the high tier ones that pretty much only drop in tier 13 plus maps. But yes, you should be prioritizing them. Even if you don't want the base, you definitely want to defer it. The other thing that's worth noting is that 2 of the helmets are outstanding if you can get your hands on an item level 86 one. And this is rare. Then you can print yourself so much currency with those by selling, like by basically either, there's various ways of duping it, but the main way of duping it is the beast split. So you'll use a beast split, then you will enchant the new copy and then sell the enchanted copy. You'll need to enchant them so that the person that bought them from you can't then beast split them further, because there's no way to remove an enchant from an item. Alternately, you can conquer or exalt the one you're going to sell, but that's more expensive than enchanting it. But this is a really powerful way of generating currency that you can use. But you will need to get yourself an item level 86 starter base, and those are so rare. So, Maven's Quests. This is basically, this is ridiculous because this is essentially a repeat of an earlier challenge. Oops, I didn't want to cut, I want to copy. This is an exact copy of the Atlas Passive Trees one. Which helms am I talking about? Blizzard Helmet, Blizzard Crown, and Archdemon's Crown are the best ones. Those are amazing. And yeah, Blizzard Crown can be 85 as well. I do find though that, Jasmine, that there's a popularity to item level 86 items. I find that even when it doesn't help them to be 86, they sell better at 86. And that said, from memory, I don't think that the Watchstones are all that expensive this league. Let's just check that quickly. Path of Exile, POE Ninja, Misinformation. So Misinformation only looks to be like an exalt per, like an exalt per 20 maps or so. There are niche uses for the 86, but it's also just the fact that people will buy eye level 86 when they don't need it. I have found that so much with selling things like Sorcerer Gloves. When I've been running eye level 86 content, people just don't buy the eye level 85 stuff. Okay, Zexanos has found the difference. Congratulations, Zexanos, for spotting the difference there. You don't have to allocate the points from the Crucible. That's the difference between the two of them. Okay, you found the difference, but yeah, that's ridiculous. They are basically clones of each other. Ritual Encounters 5 is... So this one is a hard bossing fight. This is all about hard bosses. You're going to need to do a bunch of tough bosses in the tight constraints of a ritual circle, and all of these have at least one with a dangerous area control effect. This is definitely going to be one that you do going for 36 challenges. This is really, really scary. That said, this is pretty straightforward. You require 20 ritual vessels to do this. So yeah, you'll need to go with 1, 2, 3, 4 different. You'll need to firstly get your five-way map device first. Then you'll need to go and acquire 20 ritual vessels. So don't put off buying those ritual vessels. I think they're going to get expensive at the end of the league when people try to trade for them. If you're in solo self-found, start working on this now. You can start working on this just gathering your ritual vessels, but this is going to be non-trivial. This is a tough boss fight. This should be something that's easily shared in a trade league. This is the sort of thing that you could probably actually make a service out of doing as well. So if you run all of these different maps, bottle up the rituals with the bosses, then get all of those, then go into Trade 820 and say, hey, I'm selling the whole shebang for Complete Ritual Encounters 5, 3 exalts per slot. And maybe 3 exalts is too high, maybe 2 exalts is better. But if you can get 4 other people in there, then that should be good. Yes, Giona is just, Kandarati is asking, can't you do it white and no mods? Yes, you can. And I was going to say this, run the map scoured. If needed, still hard bosses as tight area. So yeah, this one's going to be difficult. And someone's just commenting in chat that they got Kosis in a bottle. I know I've had a lot of invasion bosses in bottles when I was stuffing around with bottles a bit earlier on. I got a bunch of invasion bosses. I've got a Tormented Spirit in a bottle somewhere. And I've just got a bunch of bottles from when I was doing farming of armory maps that I didn't decide to use because I thought they'd be, be a little bit different. I also think that the Ritual Encounters stuff will help you with getting the rare bases. And yeah, William DeWall has made a point here. Also take into account the ritual AoE effects like the meteors and ice lasers, as these will affect the AoE of the bosses. There's a really important point to make here, and that is that unless you get one of the rare rituals, one of the harder ones, you can pretty much just treat those ritual AoE effects as trivial. They're basically not very important. So if you don't get a rare ritual, the ritual AoE damage is low. Dodge bosses first. Yeah, dodge the bosses first. Anything else is fine. But yeah, there's a lot of things here that this is going to be a bunch of tough fights. And this is something for when you've got a tanky character. Last thing to keep in mind is that if you die in a ritual encounter, even in softcore, you've lost the ritual encounter. That's really nasty. So, encounter 6. And this is semi-grind of old league mechanics. Delve Depth 250 requires a fairly strong character, but this is actually pretty doable. This is something that you should be able to do with 500 maps, and it's something that you can do as either 24 or 36. Not as hard as it looks. Numbers are low. Easy in trade. Except Delve Depth, which you have to do yourself. Tane's Lab, map in... I'm just trying to think. It's Veldo's Rest, isn't it? Veldo's Rest is the one that has the Metamorph shenanigans going in it. I think it's where I'm mapping at the moment. I just can't remember whether it's there or whether it's Glenacht Cans. I think it's Veldo's. But yeah, 250 will take a little bit of time, and it's basically about as hard as tier 16 maps that are alked. Now we have Uncharted Realm passives. This is the hardest boss fight that has ever existed as a challenge. Okay, so yeah, I got Veldo's Rest right. Good. This is hardest boss challenge ever. So, what do we have to say here? This requires you to kill a Maven. This requires you, which is actually probably the easiest part of it. You'll need to kill Maven. You will need to kill the. You will need to kill the 4-way Breachstone fight. You'll need to kill a 4-way Shaper Guardian fight, 4-way Elder Guardian fight, the 4-way Synthesis Guardian fight, and those are the warm-up because the hard fight is the 5-way endgame bosses. This is brutal. Paul Dudley, yes, this is me writing the spreadsheet. Once it's done, this will form the notes for the videos that I put out later. And those videos will be put up as normal videos, but I will also make the spreadsheet available on my blog. So that's sirgog.com. LFE is right. That is the grindiest one, the 7 of 9 ritual bases that you've got. Are you doing much mapping with ritual vessels at the moment, LFE? That's the things I've heard conflicting reports about whether they're good or not. And because of stream latency, maybe a sec till that's answered, I'll just write this out firstly. Hardest boss fights ever. The warm-up is the Maven. This absolutely requires beating the Feared. So you've tried that and didn't see an improvement. I think it's going to be hard to tell, but I think I got my 2 with them, but I'm not sure of that. Jasmine got all of hers solo self found in 200 maps. Get out of here. That's ridiculous. I think that half of Reddit probably wants to kill you now. Yeah. I do think, though, that this one, that it is genuinely nasty. Maven. Like Cirrus level boss. Do this for 36. Much easier than the last one. Which invitations are easier and harder? I'm not that certain because I'm not on a strong anti-boss character. I believe the Breach Lords to be one of the hardest. They're really, really brutal. If you save a ritual in a vessel, what you're doing is you're taking a copy of the monsters that were in that ritual to use them again later. It does not store the rewards. It means that when you do your map that uses the ritual vessel, then you'll get bonus monsters in there. And bonus monsters means that you will also get bonus rewards because you'll just have access to more tribute. But yeah, I think that the Breach Lords one, the reason that the Breach Lords one is so brutal is that the Breach Lords were designed to be fought as level 70 monsters, and they were designed to be scary at level 70. And then when they're scaled up to 83, now, okay, they're not scary at 70 anymore, but once you put them at 83, they're a lot scarier. They just have so much... They have so many area control abilities, and, you have Tull with Tull's version of Wolf Barrage, which is basically undodgeable unless you're very close to Tull. You also have Esh, who has abilities that are undodgeable unless you're very far from him, and that's a terrifying combination there. Then additionally, you've got Ulnatol hitting a lot of the arena, lots of other things. I think that the Breach Lords... I think that I would put the Breach Lords encounter as being harder than Uber Elder myself, but they can be burnt down fast. You don't need to fight Chayula in with the rest of them. You fight the 4 lower ones. Chayula is instead in with the final Synthete from Cortex and Uberatsuri and Shaper and Elder. But yeah, I think it's you've got to kill... I do agree that you have to kill the Ice Guy first, because his abilities are not very compatible with the other ones. And I agree, LFE is right, that if you can blitz the Breach Lords, that's how you solve it. You cannot win a long fight against the Breach Lord encounter, whereas you can win a long fight against most of the others. Okay, so you have Encounter 7. This is the Precision Boss Kills. This one is one that's going to require a bit more work. But bosses of the Foundry map, the key difficulty is killing them within 3 seconds of each other. If you can get that done, the Corpse Rain is just going to take a little bit of practice. For the bosses of the Bramble Valley map, so this one I think is one you just want to blitz down again. The problem though is that Bramble Valley is a fairly high tier map, and also the boss is hard. This is definitely one to do scoured. Burtok, Conjurer of Bones in Necropolis map. You need to inflict bleed on him. That is difficult for a lot of fights. That is really difficult for a lot of players. So you're going to need to find some way of inflicting bleed. What I suggest you use here, if you are not playing a wand or bow build, then what you want to do there is use some sort of totem that can inflict bleed. So you can use an ancestral totem with chance to bleed support on it. That can inflict bleed on the boss, even though you might be using a caster stick. Then you need to get into the Bone Royal section, and you need to not be curse immune. So it is tough to do that, but it does last a full 3 seconds. You can also add in some sort of skill that has Culling Strike. So you would inflict bleeding with your Ancestor Totem, and then you would use Culling Strike from something that you cast yourself. So it's a messy one, but it can be done. So let's just quickly write this out. This is Precision Boss Kills. But let's actually just put it as a progression. This requires you to have 16 Watchstones, pretty much, because you need to be doing high tier maps to get these ones. Because this is so fiddly, we're going to call it 36. And then we have Foundry, Scour Map, Blitz. Bramble, Scour Map, Decoy, Totem, Blitz. Burtok. Here we need to, you need to, if not bow, wand, Ancestor Totem with chance to bleed, even if not melee, actual kill from Cull, and move skill into Bone Royal when not curse immune. Doedre. So you need to walk around this. I thought I got this one last time I was doing Doedre in the Sepulchre map. This one is horrible because basically this is going to require culling. That's a good point. Shrapnel Blister, I forgot that. Shrapnel for the stupid, for the bow builds. See, I was doing large circles around the room. So I was, if you think like, so if her screaming totems are at 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock on a clock face, I was standing at 12 until I had some of each. Then I was standing at 4 till I had some of each, and then I was standing at 8, to get all of them that way, and then I would try and colour. That was my approach, but I think standing in the circle, in the centre, does make more sense. Amass charger to amass debuffs while she is fighting a decoy totem. So as you can probably tell from this, decoy totem is really good. Divergent decoy totem is even better, but divergent decoy totem is bugged. It doesn't do as much as it says it does, but it is still insanely good. So basically, it gives you 1% life regen on the totem per gem quality. The actual amount that it recovers is 1% of level 1 decoy totem hit points, but that is actually still really meaningful. So Divergent Decoy Totem is awesome. But normal decoy totem is good too. And it's just so good for these precision boss kills. Let's have a quick look at that. I'm just going to open that. Just trying to get that loaded. Okay, I will just quickly show that. That looks so cool, that mechanic. I'd never noticed it because the fights don't last all that long. But thanks for that, Jasmine. So that is what the Corpse Rain looks like. It's exactly what it says, isn't it? This is the events of the song It's Raining Men. It's a raining man, hallelujah. It's also the results of the... it's the events of the song Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, which are basically just the same song but written from different perspectives. So that is what the Corpse Rain looks like. The key thing though is just burst the bosses down, and you won't have to encounter that. Okay, so Prove Your Worth is next. This is just a grind challenge. This is going to take you about 2,000 maps, I think, because you're probably going to do some repetition, as you can see. I know I've done more than 243 maps here. Yeah, I'm not going to sing too loudly. It's sort of like 10:15 in the evening here. And I love my karaoke, but not on stream. Not with songs where the original is copyright. Like a few seconds is fine for fair use, but anything longer than that is just sort of asking for trouble. Yeah, so I'll keep it really short. If ExileCon happens again, though, there is definitely going to be karaoke there. I did actually make karaoke happen at that ExileCon in 2019, but if there is either maybe a 2022 one because of the pandemic, it'll probably be delayed. Then if that happens, then definitely organise karaoke there. So, Prove Your Worth is this one that's in the 36 or 40 section. This is in the section where I said there's two divergent paths. You can either go the grindy approach, in which case you'll do Prove Your Worth, or you can go the hard encounters, in which case you will do Uncharted Realms. Basically, that's a choice. This is the most straightforward grind. Most will have to be in T14 plus maps. Yes, I agree with Ain't No Justice. Next ExileCon will be amazing. Socket, craftable, watchstones. So this is where GGG say to solo self-found players, we are going to punch you in the face and we are going to set your cat on fire. This is absolutely barbaric for SSF people, and it's trivial in Trade League. So yeah, basically, not really much to say there. This is this is going to be horrible for you SSF people, and I'm glad I'm not one of you. So 2,000 maps, and I'm going to call this 40. SSF 40. Trade, trivial enough. And I did not realise that you could shorten the Prove Your Worth. You could shorten that. I don't believe it does count in the Maven's invitations. Otherwise, I'm sure I'd have more. 10-way invitations do guarantee a watchstone, but you've got to get all of them. So you've got to get the chromium and the platinum and the titanium. That's going to be really painful. I do think this is just one to migrate at the end of... Like, once you finish with SSF, this is just one to migrate for because it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. But reason this is... I guess you could focus on a region. So if you focus on a region that you're having trouble with, you're going to need to do what? An average of 3 plus 1.5. Only going to need to do 5.5 Maven cycles in each region. So 5.5 Maven cycles means 55 maps in each region on average. Actually, yeah, I think maybe this is not as bad as I thought it was. SSF, this will hurt, will dictate which regions you can map in End League. Trade, trivial enough. So yeah, your difficulty is going to be that you're going to be missing one type, and you're just going to have to keep running it for it. Yeah, look, maybe this isn't as bad as I'd first thought it was. Maven conditionally. So the easiest way to do this is to, well, firstly get good at the memory game and the coil beams, and then you need to control your DPS. Without allowing more than 16 volatile orbs to be active is easiest done by just being really fast at the fight. And when there's 12 gravity wells active, that just means you've let the fight drag on. So that's basically all there is to say with this one. It's one where you need to be able to kill the boss fast, but potentially hold off on it. So this is going to be one that I'm going to say you want to have, let's say, 8 million plus boss DPS. This can be done in your 36 or 40, probably 36 for most people. And this is going to be one that you'll say high DPS makes option 1 easy. 2 requires control, so hold off. 3 and 4 precision and practice. Yeah, that's all it is really to it. Well, yeah, Pacopalis, that's the key, is that you need to be able to finish the fight quickly, but you don't need to be fast until the end of it, because you need to drag the fight out long enough to get the 12 gravity wells active. So yeah, it's not trivial, but it's also not that bad. Deadly Encounters. So this is the easy mode version of Uncharted Realms. This is going to be, like, this is a 36 now. Stupid computer. Auto carrot. This is just basically practice for Uncharted Realms. Like, basically, a lot of these are prerequisites for the Uncharted Realms. You need to do Atsuri in order to get the Uncharted Realms done. You need to get Cheula to do the Uncharted Realms. You need to beat the Shaper, and you need to beat the Elder, and the easiest way to beat both of them is to do the Uber Elder fight. So yeah, this is essential, and you only need to do 4 of them. So this is practice. Abaxoth was interesting. I had Abaxoth appear when I was fighting a ritual, but I killed him without realizing he was there. I didn't realize that Abaxoth had spawned until I had his unique divination card, the one for Starforge, had dropped, and I was like, why did that drop? I didn't see Abaxoth appear, but Abaxoth was there. Got killed by a Chaos Corpse explosion that I'd set off, and yeah, just went splat without doing a single attack. That was kind of funny. That was a tier 15. That was one of my armory maps when I was farming the patient. So that was a bit of fun. But yeah, Deadly Encounters is certainly not held up with power creep, and it's just the easy mode version of this. So this is medium difficulty bosses compared to the other ones. EGG. This is actually the easiest EGG I think we've ever had in trade leagues. It's a little bit different in solo self-found, but I do think this is quite doable even there. So this is still going to be like 3,000 plus maps, and it's still 40 only, but it's not as bad as they normally are. So level 100, you know what that is. That's a grind. Izaro in the Eternal Labyrinth is pain. I have heard people say, and I'd like if anyone can clarify this, that the Uber Duber Labyrinths count double. Can anyone verify that? Like if you do an Eternal Labyrinth of Fortune, does that count as 2 Izaro kills? Because that's what people have told me, but I can't verify that myself. Completing Grand Heist means you need to do every wing that has been unveiled. This is just a matter of collecting 25 blueprints, running them all. You'll have the coins for it. That'll be trivial. Harvest the Heart of the Grove is luck-based. So Jasmine is saying that it's not the case that Izaro counts double in the Uber Duber Labs. So, yeah. I'll take her word for it because she's generally very knowledgeable about the game, and the other people were people I didn't know. So, Harvest the Heart of the Grove is luck-based and can be sped up in Hayward Hamlet, I believe, because you can double the chance of the Heart of the Grove spawning. Still going to be pretty rare. Still going to be a tricky one to fight 15 times. So that's a grind, though, that you can focus on by doing an Octant on the Atlas. Blood-filled vessels, you just need to source 50 ritual vessels for that. Maybe 52 to give you a bit of wiggle room in case you derp one of the ritual encounters or disconnect during it. That should be straightforward enough, though. Defeat the Maven. This is just... this is one of the easier bosses to access at endgame that we've had. It's Lex Proxima. Sorry, people are saying. So, let's say Lex Prox for Heart of Grove. Maven... access to Maven easiest by doing Elked hidden invitations. These are hard. Or formed. Out. So the formed is the Shaper Guardians. In terms of what I would go for here, so if you are in hardcore, then Izaro is safe. Level 100 is difficult. Grand Heist is free, and then you go the blood-filled vessels. If you're in softcore, then you probably do the same 4 if you're in SSF. If you're in Trade League, then Heart of the Grove is the easiest one to get. An 8-mod Feared can give you a whole writ. I've not seen an 8-mod Feared done. That's impressive. Yeah, I have noticed that the Atlas area names, I knew a couple of them. Veldo's Rest being the inner southeast. I knew that one because it's the Shaper's name. Then I knew Proxima and Ajoris because I knew they were both northeast. Proxima is similar to Proximity, so I realised that was the close one. But then the others I had no idea either. I could never remember them. An 8-mod Feared can give you a written 4 splinters. Wow, that's crazy. Are you interested? You should upload videos of running the 8-mod Feareds, because that's something that would definitely... it's impressive to be able to beat them. What are you playing? Yeah. I've seen some really nuts stuff with... someone put up a video earlier of a Frostbomb character that looked absolutely crazy doing a Feared encounter. The thing with the Feared, though, that's difficult is that it's not really sustainable in a way that... in Trade League, you can buy a Cortex, you can buy a Shape, an Uber Elder set, and you can buy an Atsuri set. But in Solo Self-Found, you can't. But it's much easier to buy a set of Shaper Guardians. Bane, Blight, Mana Pathfinder. That's interesting. So... Mana, so that the mana means that you get the Cluster Jewel. It gives you X% increased chaos based upon your maximum unreserved mana. I'm guessing that that's the key interaction there. That's really interesting. I'm keen to see how that build works. Post a link in the if you've got a path of building for it. Post a link to it in the comment section below, and I'll have a look. And if you've got a video guide on it or anything, I'll definitely plug it. That sounds like quite an interesting build, and it's different to everything else I've seen lately. How many curses are you inflicting with Bane? Oh, yep. That makes sense. Indigon is good. Hey, is there anything more to say than just Indigon is good? It's like one of those items. Actually, I don't know why I'm not using Indigon at the moment. I really should just mess around with it. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's something I said I haven't seen it. It sounds like a really interesting concept. Despair is your only one. Yeah, good luck on that, Gianna. Definitely make sure you watch that Don the Crown video on Cirrus. I think, Never Brick Cirrus Again was the name of it. Really worth a look. Anyways, I'm thinking at this point that I do have my 9 to 5 tomorrow at quarter past. Oh, there. I got to get up at 8:15 or earlier, and it's 10:30 at the moment, and I do need to chill out a bit. So I'm going to end the stream in a sec. Just quickly posting there. So, do you have any plans to deal with player count drops between the league? Well, at the moment, I work a 9 to 5, so I'm not. It's doesn't hurt me. Like, basically, this channel provides me beer money at the moment. If I were to try and go professional at it, which I have been doing due diligence on, but were I to do that, my plan would be like essentially my budgeting would require that I would need to make 52 to 53% of what I need to live in a quarter in the best month of the league. And then the other 48, then like it'd be sort of 30% in the second month and 18% in the third. So the spreadsheet link will be, and it's not there yet, it will be on my blog, but it's not there yet. I'll just give me 30 in. So that spreadsheet will be linked there, probably in less than 30 minutes, but I'll say 30. But yeah, the game does definitely drop down a lot between leagues. So really, I've just got to think, like as part of the due diligence research, really, like if last September, if the reception that my channel had in September, if I expected that to continue every month, then I would have already gone professional with it. But that was a one-off. That was something that I can possibly repeat during a more hype league than this one. But that was the best I've done in a month, and I can't go pro with it based upon the 3 month period as a whole. So that's essentially the way that I think of the player count drops between leagues. Anyways, folks, that's going to be the end of it. If people have got further comments or questions, I do have a Discord set up, and I will put a link to that in the chat. That's going to take me about 30 seconds to bring up, and then at that point, I'm going to sign off. So let me just get that Discord link for you all. Invite people. Invite link that is valid for 1 day so that it doesn't get bot spammed. And there's the Discord link. I will manually invite you after you request it, and then I'll post this spreadsheet to my blog, and then I will write the actual guides themselves. So this is essentially the notes that I'll use for the guides, but I need to trim them down. You know, you can't just have a 2-hour video as the guide to the various challenges. I'm going to trim this down, come up with a concise list that I think are best for 12, best for 24, and best for 36, and post separate videos for them. But thanks all, and I will see you all around, and I'll approve you in Discord if you apply with that link that I just said.